Hi, it's Free Motion Quilting with Christina Camelli. Today I want to show you how I approached the orange peel design. This is a design that I stitched by first creating a grid with the walking foot and then changing to a free motion foot and adding an arc on each side of every line segment in the grid. So here I have my grid. I've set it up with my walking foot, and now let's say I've switched over to my free motion foot and I'm ready to go inside and do all my arcs. I could start, say, up here at the corner and do an arc on each side of the grid space, but if I do that, then I'm back where I started and I can't move on to the other grid spaces without, say, traveling along a line I've already stitched. And that's fine, but I think there's a more efficient way to do it. So here's one way you could try. You could go with arcs. You can make these S-curves all the way down the grid lines. And then when you get to the end of your grid line, turn around and come back and make the mirroring S-curves. And that's a pretty straightforward way to do it. If you do it on all the grid lines, all the ones that go side to side and the ones that go up and down, then you'll have completed the design. Now what I want you to notice is that for every of these columns that we passed, we got 2 of the arcs completed by going down and back. And there's a more efficient way to do that. So let me show you that. This is how I do it. I do 1, 2, 3 of the arcs in the square, and then I resist the urge to go on, and I instead go to the next space. 1, 2, 3. I'm always leaving one side open, and it's always on the same side, and you'll see why in a second. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do that all the way down the row, and when I get to the end, now it's time for me to come back using those open spaces I left, just bouncing along. And once I'm there, I can move on to the next column, again leaving my return route open. And then once I get to the end, I can come on back. Now I would have to stitch along one of the grid lines to get further, or I could break my thread, but that's a lot less traveling than I would have to do otherwise. Now here's what I want you to notice. In terms of the columns, when we went down and back, we were actually able to complete 4 of the arcs in one motion down the row and back. So I think this is the more efficient approach. Something I want to tell you about stitching this design, and maybe you can even see it in my drawing here, is that sometimes my spaces are kind of narrow that I leave, and other times they're getting like pretty big. And when you're stitching it, when I'm stitching it, at least when I'm stitching it, I'm up close to that and I'm like, oh my gosh, why can't I make this more consistent? But the truth is that once it's all stitched up, especially once you get the next row after whatever inconsistent thing you stitched is, it starts to kind of just blend in and become the pattern. So don't be too hard on yourself. Just get it stitched, get your rhythm, and enjoy how it looks. This is really only the beginning of what you can do with free motion quilting in a grid. So for more ideas, check out my new book, Step-by-Step Texture Quilting, or there's a class on Bluprint I have called Quilting the Grid. And until next time, happy stitching!